Hello and welcome to Tater Talk, the podcast about Apopka. My name is Joshua McMillan, your host, and this summer we are sitting down with prominent local community members to discuss their lives and experiences in our city. Today I'm excited to announce we are talking about nature and wildlife with Miss Deborah Green. How are you doing today?
Great, and thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So, firstly, can you tell us your name, when and where you were born, and a brief introduction of yourself?
I'm Deborah Green, and I first lived in Tallahassee and then Gainesville. I grew up in Gainesville, and I studied botany and entomology, bugs.
Right.
And I earned my PhD in entomology from UC Berkeley back in 1979, 50 years ago. And professionally, I did 3 years of research in Puerto Rico as an entomologist, and then came back settled in Orlando, and was a teacher, science teacher, mostly 7th through college. And most of my time, I was a professor at Valencia College of environmental science. And then I had a job in Volusia County in water conservation for 9 years. And during that time, I got more into green building. The whole U.S. Green Building Council was growing at that time. Mm-hmm. And I was able to create the position of Director of Sustainability for Valencia. And I filled that position just for 2.5 years until the numbers came out for me to retire. And so I've been retired.
Okay, wow.
Time, and just dedicating myself to my Orange Audubon.
Wonderful. And for those that are unfamiliar, what is the Orange Audubon Society?
It's one of 500 chapters of Audubon around the country, and one of 45 chapters in Florida. And our chapter was founded 60 years ago, and we work on conservation issues and education, particularly about nature and biology. And we have about 2,000 member households, and we're the second largest chapter in Florida. We were recognized as Chapter of the Year this year by Audubon, Florida.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, what is the main goal of the new Orange Audubon History Museum and Birding Park here in Apopka on Lust Road, and that is in the works?
We're very excited to have this site at the entrance to the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive, just to the right of it. And it's owned by the City of Apopka, and Orange Audubon has a long-term lease. And we're going to develop a natural history museum where people can come and see exhibits on the history of the area and the natural history, all about the nature and bird migration, habitats, how to restore habitats. That's a lot of what we're going to be doing in the surrounding area of the nature center, of the museum. It's 69.5 acres, an old nursery site, and we're restoring habitat, trying to get back to what was originally there, if at all possible.
Right. Restoring habitat in Apopka is very rare, might I add.
Yes, and not easy. It was a nursery. It had all the greenhouses, and they actually burned about the time that the St. Johns River Water Management District bought it from the nurserymen in 99. And that's good for us. We didn't have to worry about the greenhouses, but the bases of the greenhouses are concrete pads. They've been there. Now, fortunately, the St. Johns River Water Management District, who originally owned it before they deeded it to the City of Apopka, they can use that concrete for riprap around the lake and some of the creeks. So they are taking it out for us at no cost to us, and that is happening right now.
Okay. And I think I wanted to show them a closer look at this poster board so that the viewers can get a sense of where this is located and what they can expect.
Yes, just to the right of the entrance to the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive, which is becoming more and more popular. If anybody out there has not been there, you really got to go. It's open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and federal holidays.
Right.
Gates open at 7 and close at 3, and you have to be out by 5.
Right.
But and leave some time to go through. I would recommend about 2 hours. There's lots of gators to see for people who haven't been going very often, and that's the big attraction. But beyond that, it's the birds.
Right. Right.
Wonderful.
And that leads into one of my next questions, which is, what is the significance of this natural history museum and birding park being located on the North Shore of Lake Apopka?
Okay. Well, Lake Apopka was once the second largest lake in Florida after Lake Okeechobee, and it's in the center of the state. So that's why birds migrating north and south stop. And so we have such a great variety and numbers of birds there. So it was the second largest once, but the North Shore, the wetlands of the northern part, the 20,000 acres of the 50,000 acre lake, were cordoned off for agriculture, because I don't know if you garden in Florida, and our sandy soil is not easy to garden in. It doesn't hold nutrients, but muck does.
Yes.
So just like at Lake Okeechobee, on the south side of Lake Okeechobee, there's agriculture using the muck. A farm industry developed from the 40s using the muck. And they built canals to shunt the water off what was wetlands, and made this elaborate system of canals and pumps. And that was the Lake Apopka North Shore, the Zellwood Corn District. And so to restore that back to wetlands is an enormous job, but the St. Johns River Water Management District had the money to purchase out the farms. In '99, they finished that process, and they've done an amazing job. And the purpose was to restore water quality in Lake Apopka, which through pollution from both the farms and, like you
winter
have
garden,
said, winter garden,
citrus concentrate, and sewage plant.
Sewage, that was before the Clean Water Act of 1972, which put restrictions on sewage going into water bodies.
Right. And so we can give them a sense of how drastically the wildlife was impacted by this pollution. I wanted to talk briefly about what Lake Apopka and its wildlife looked like before the 1900s and even before the 1800s. Well,
it must have been just all the wading birds and all the wetland birds and other animals, otters, bobcats. It was wetlands, is what it was. It was part of the lake.
Similar to the Everglades, would you say?
A lot like the Everglades. Yes.
Now, what are the main types or species of birds that are found at Lake Apopka, and how many different species are present?
Okay. There are 379 species recorded, which is pretty much the top for an inland site. It's more than the Everglades.
Right.
And
even though it's much smaller than the Everglades, it's much more biodiverse with birds.
Yes, and it is maybe its location in the center of the state. And some of these birds are only seen once. Like a flamingo was seen last year.
Oh, okay.
But just once, even one day.
Right.
But most people didn't get to see it. But all those are counted, so you have this enormous number. And birders do like listing, seeing more and more birds. So what kind of birds do we have? All the egrets and herons, almost all the species of egrets and herons that you have in the United States can be seen there. And there's something called gallinules, which are kind of the low on the food chain, where they have a lot of babies. They're fun to see. By the way, the most fun time to bird is in the winter, when birds come down from the north for the winter.
Yes.
And I'll tell you more about which ones in a second. But still in the summer, you can see the babies. There's black-necked stilts that nest there, and their babies are really fun to see. So, what birds come down in the winter? the waterfowl, which breed in this area in North Dakota, and that area called the Prairie Pothole region, where the glaciers carved out shallow ponds, and that's perfect for these birds to breed. But they come down when things get too cold up there in the winter. And yeah, we have lots of waterfowl, many species. And by the way, Orange Audubon hosts a birding festival in the winter, December 3rd through 7th this coming year. And one of the highlights is taking the people to see all those waterfowl. What other kind of birds? Well, migration is really fun to see here, because some of these birds that breed like in the high Arctic are going all the way down to South America, and they're just coming through in like September and then going back north in like March. And each one, for one that is prominent in my mind, is called the pectoral sandpiper, and it's got long wings and flies really well, and so you see them in little flocks, and just very exciting when they're here. And then another one that we see more in the spring, it seems, is called the bobolink, and it's just a songbird with a bubbly sound that's similarly going all the way to South America and then going all the way back.
Wow. If we didn't have enough reasons to visit Lake Apopka North Shore Wildlife Tribe, now you have even more. So we talked briefly about the muck farms from the 1940s to 90s. And so in 1998, the state bought out the North Shore muck farms and began a process of restoring the wetland habitat. So how has this restoration directly benefited the bird species and other animals, and repopulated, I guess, the North Shore?
I think really well. I wasn't a birder at the beginning. And by the way, I want to say that there were birders that would go to the farms and the wetlands of the farms. They'd either get permission from the farmers or just look at the birds in those days. And then when the Water Management District bought the land in 99, like you said, 98, 99, unfortunately there was the bird kill, and then everything was shut down. We were waiting to get access to go birding back there.
Right, the winter of 98, 99, we witnessed the largest pollution-induced bird kill in the country's history at the North Shore of Lake Apopka. So we could also mention more about that for those that are interested.
Yes, and great questions. It was from pesticides, the old kind of pesticides that are long-lasting in the soil, DDT and its relatives, that were now banned in 72, but this was, they were still active in the soil. And there was a hot spot where maybe the farmers had dumped a lot of pesticides. And okay, so let me tell you the the deal on the flooding of the fields. So the St. Johns River goes north, and Lake Apopka is a tributary to the Oklawaha, which then goes into St. Johns. So the flow is north. So every year, the farmers would pump the water off the fields back into the lake, so that the crops could be grown on the muck soils, and then they'd let the water come back in by gravity in the summer to kill nematodes and keep the muck soil from oxidizing and blowing away. So the first year that the Water Management District had bought the land from the farmers, and the farmers weren't pumping the water off that winter, that was the winter that it was flooded for the first time in the winter. And a bunch of birds from up north, like white pelicans, which are high up in the food chain, were there that winter. It was more diverse that winter, and the Christmas bird count counted a higher number that winter. But birds that are high in the food chain, if there's pesticides in the soil, the little invertebrates, little shrimpy little stuff, and then the fish, and then finally the bigger fish, and finally the pelicans, it was concentrated, and the pelicans died. Wood storks died, it was disastrous, and very disastrous for the St. Johns River Water Management District staff, who were just trying to do the right thing.
Right.
A U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service came down and shut everything down for a while. And the only way they solved the problem was getting a big, what do you call it, a plow thing from an inventor in Texas, a really big plow, and burying the pesticide-laden soil really deep. And that pesticide does break down over time. So that pretty much solved it. And U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has checked different parts of the property. One by one, they've gotten the clean bill of health.
Oh, okay. So we are seeing now gradual improvements over the past 2 to 3 decades.
With pesticides.
With pesticides.
Yeah, now there was a scientist from Gainesville who studied the alligators, and he found that they were not reproducing properly because these pesticides have an estrogen mimicking effect.
Okay.
You read about that, feminization of the alligators. But over time, that seems to have subsided as those pesticides decayed. People do see baby alligators around.
Can you describe the ecosystem at Lake Apopka North Shore and Lake Apopka and how it works today?
Well, it's wetlands again. It has the berm roads, and it has the pumping systems. And the district has put in more pumping systems to be able to move water from one side to the other, to be able to control it. But it's trying to go back to the original wetlands. And the district has removed invasive plants to the extent possible. I mean, when I first came there, when it first opened, it was like old farm field weeds, you know. It wasn't very attractive, but over time the native vegetation has come in, and it's in pretty good shape. And by the way, the lake has really come a long way. Now, it is a very shallow lake and enormous. Let's see, it's 50,000 acres without taking off the North Shore, so you've still got 30,000 acres. That's a big lake. It's 4th biggest in Florida. And so to clean that up entirely is very, very hard. But, you know, it has come a long way.
Yeah. Now that we're about halfway, I'm just going to switch out to our other poster for the audience to see.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you about our new building. We have already our architectural design, and you see the rendering of it up there, and here's you see the architectural team getting an award from the American Institute of Architects Orlando chapter in the unbuilt category. They're very good, and it's going to be gold, LEED gold, which means it's going to have all the green features.
Wow.
And what we're remodeling is an old building that was used by the nurseryman for repairing his trucks and letting other farmers repair their trucks. So it's high, it's 22 feet high, and it's a cement, a very sturdy cement building. How we got the idea to remodel it rather than starting from scratch is that we have been involved with the wildlife drive, and we kept looking over there and seeing it. We saw it through Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Ian. I mean, it just stood there so sturdy. Unfortunately, Hurricane Milton must have had tornadoes because it did mess up the roll-up doors and stuff.
Okay.
But basically, we considered it a sturdy building, and it's more ecological to remodel rather than tear it down.
Exactly.
Think about it. I mean, you have to make that cement and steel, and you have to transport it. So all that takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to dispose of that material. So we found an architectural firm that was excited about the remodeling process, and we had the building inspector from the City of Apopka come check it, that it was sturdy. So that's the main structure of the building with an annex on the side. And here is a picture of what the annex is going to look like. And we have some beautiful murals we are going to have in there. And that is the classroom and the entryway. And it's a very functional design for a small nature center. It'll only
Yeah.
be 3,400 square feet,
Yeah, I
but
can
all very
definitely see
efficiently designed.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that we are just saving for this. At the moment, we do not have any big grants or major corporate funding or anything. The money is coming from our members who've been watching all along and seeing our newsletter progress, and so
Okay.
they want to support it.
Yeah. Well, we hope here at the Apopka Museum that y'all get the funding and proper donations as soon as possible. And we're very excited to see this in our city. So, coming to sort of a full circle moment, what does it mean to you personally to be part of the Audubon Society?
The Audubon is dedicated to conservation and education, and those are two things that mean a lot to me. So, you know, you can try to be an activist and try to help in those areas, but to do it alone is much less effective than to do it with an organization.
Right.
So I found Audubon 25 or so years ago in this area, and I've stuck with it, become more and more active until I became president. And it's a thrill to get to lead this project and to actually be able to keep it moving forward. And
Right.
I know a lot, like you, a lot of people want to see this
Oh, yes.
for the area.
Definitely.
The Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive is such a special place. You go out there and
Yeah.
it starts getting quiet.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And-
we practically grew up out there, and my grandma and her sister go out there once or twice a month. They call it the Gator Trail, and it's their favorite local attraction. So
And free.
we're just, oh yeah, and hopefully it will always stay that way. So we kind of mentioned this just now, but just to reiterate, what is the importance of not only preserving these wild spaces, but also creating resources and educational centers such as this one, when reckless development and destruction of the environment is an ever-present issue in Central Florida?
Yes. Even when we're in a recession, Central Florida is growing. So it's just that birds need these habitats, intact habitats. They can't live in manicured lawns. And by the way, that's a whole other thing that Orange Audubon's involved with, is trying to get people to plant native plants and make their
Oh,
own
yeah.
yards more
Yeah.
wildlife friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But special places like this just need to be preserved, and we need access. And so, yeah, I'm happy to be a part of this effort.
Okay. We usually like to ask all of our guests this next question, which is, what is your hope for the future of Apopka, Lake Apopka, or the region in general?
Ecotourism is a big thing. We have this North Shore Birding Festival, and we get people coming from 14 to 18 states each year. And these people are from out of state, so they obviously need to stay in hotels and or campsites or whatever. They're bringing money into the local economy through our festival. And the same thing with the Wildlife Drive and our birding park and our Natural History Museum, that we hope to bring people from around the country. And by the way, Orange Audubon has an ambassador program at the Wildlife Drive on Saturdays and Sundays. We have volunteers there giving out the map and giving tips, because a lot of people read that it's 11 miles and they think,
I'm going to get through it quick.
yeah. So that's one of the main things we tell, and we tell some other things. Yeah. Well,
Now, is there anything else that you would like to share with the public, or have any closing remarks?
just that if you haven't been there, go to the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive, and you can check out our birding park just to the right of it. Yes, and we're just starting. We're going to start maybe next month with a phase 1 of construction, where we're going to take out the
okay.
roll-up doors. Our builder that we've selected, RB Marks, roll-up doors and the roof, and get the site ready. We're still fundraising before we can go into full restoration, full construction. And by the way, we're doing restoration activities all the time. We have monthly work days on the last Saturday of the month, and would love to have more and more people to come and join us. We're actually going to quit in July and skip them in July and August just because it's just too hot. But those have been fun, and that's how we've gotten a beautiful entry landscape and a lot of other work on the property. It's a big property, 69.5 acres.
Yeah.
So just, come to the Wildlife Drive, come to our park in the parking lot, walk in, and see what we're doing. And if you want to get involved, come to our work days, or just contact us about if you have some resources, any company you represent that might want to donate. We could also have companies come out for a work day, like a team thing during the week. And everybody seems to love the project, and I'm very happy that I get to be involved with it.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in today. It was an honor to sit down with someone who knows so much about our local nature and wildlife and Lake Apopka, and be able to share that on our podcast. So we hope to see you soon, and we wish you all the best of luck with the Orange Audubon Natural History Museum and Birding Park. And thank you all for tuning in. Please stay tuned for our next episode coming out next Saturday. Have a good day. Bye.